Mike from Tuscaloosa asked me earlier today, what are some opportunities for unranked teams to beat top 5 teams? Mike, I had to expand this a little bit because there were some games I wanted to talk about. They didn't quite fit your parameters. So here's what I did. I went and found games that feature highly ranked teams versus teams that are much lower ranked than them. I apologize in advance because I want to talk to you about Oregon at Texas Tech in week 2. This is on everyone at Oregon's radar, I promise you that, but totally unfamiliar surroundings for the Ducks. They're going to Lubbock, Texas in week 2. Straw poll of that roster, including the coaching staff. How many of you have been to Lubbock? Nay. How many of you could readily pinpoint Lubbock, Texas on a map? And Texas is a big state, so you could just hope to guess right, and you probably wouldn't. Tyler Shuck is the quarterback at Texas Tech. One of the most famous stats on this show this summer has been he is undefeated in games that he starts and finishes at Texas Tech. Great stat to have, by the way. You know where he came from? Oregon. So it's a big game for him. If you have wobbly parts on your team, this is where they get exposed. Oregon, I think, plays a very, very light opponent in week 1, and you go on the road, and this is who you play. This is your first real test, and it's a road test nonetheless. So I think this is one to watch, and this week 2, it's like out-of-conference mania for the Big 12 in week 2. I wish I could spread these games out more. This is the same day Texas goes to Bama, same day Utah goes to Baylor. Like, it's a wild day. Week 3, I got one for you. Big point spread on this game. I'm not overlooking South Carolina at Georgia in week 3. I was talking to a Georgia staffer the other day. He said, yeah, we're not either. Like, they're good football players on that team. Georgia's favored by, I think, 23 or 24 in this game. It's in Athens. It is also a situation where Georgia will not have been tested yet. South Carolina's already played North Carolina in Charlotte, so not at home. We'll call it a road game. And Spencer Rattler, in hero mode, is capable of pushing Georgia to the wire. I'm thinking like Steven Garcia against Bama circa 2010, that kind of performance. If he shifts into hero mode, and if we also find out that maybe the Georgia pass rush isn't getting home, who knows? You know, maybe Juice Wells is back at wide receiver, so maybe Trey Knox is back at tight end. If all that happens, and I think there are a couple of other things that would have to happen for this. Special teams would have to be decidedly edge South Carolina, and they would have to steal a couple of turnovers, probably steal a couple of possessions. If all that stuff happens, which if it's going to happen against Georgia to be earlier in the year, I think it'd be right here. Crazier things have happened. Not much crazier, but crazier things have happened. Let's keep an eye on that one. Also in week 3, and no one's talking about this one nationally yet, Penn State goes to Illinois. I mentioned this earlier in the show. So Penn State goes to Illinois in week 3. Illinois is sitting there with Luke Altmaier starting at quarterback for him. And everywhere else offensively, they feel good. So now they've got the box checked at quarterback because Brett Bielema said, we actually have never felt better about quarterback. O-line's good, man. 3 wide receivers up there they really love. They love a couple of running backs they have. They're just not a bad team. And your first road start, if you're Drew Aller, is going to Illinois in week 3. I think this could be a dogfight for them, candidly. So there's not going to be a huge spread on this game either. If you're expecting, Penn State minus 20 on the road, you're not getting that. You probably get Penn State minus single digits on the road. So everybody's looking ahead to the Ohio State game and the Michigan game. Don't look past this game, man. There's big upset potential on that one. And staying in the Big Ten, but going to week 6, I didn't want to, Colin. I tried to slow down because I know you don't get to use that Illinois B-roll a whole lot. I apologize, but I got a bedtime tonight. So Michigan at Minnesota in week 6, also not being talked about. I got a few things to remind you of here. This is the second leg of a back-to-back road stretch for Michigan. Not many challenging hurdles on this schedule, and it tells you something that this is where we're having to go to define challenging for Michigan. But check out that little 2-week stretch there. They go to Nebraska 9:30, and then they go to Minnesota 10:7. Minnesota, how do I describe them? They're a little bit different. if you're around the team and you talk about the way they go about things, I have never heard a group of people collectively say, this place is not for everyone, more than I hear Minnesota players say that. So if you bottle up the performance of the year, if the week before Jeff Sims has had a big day against Michigan and took him to the wire, and it was a full 4-quarter game, and now they got to go into your building, maybe you sneak attack them early. Maybe you pop a couple of scores on them, and you're up 13-3 or 17-7, and you make J.J. McCarthy kind of revert into the form he had to be against TCU, and that's trying to trade punches through the air instead of just taking the air out of the ball like you want to. Maybe they got a shot there. If they don't, then you're waiting until well later in the year for anyone to try and upset Michigan. So, not predicting any of those, but if you want some completely out of left field upset potential, there you go.